Hello again, friends. It's Bill Spady, and I'm honored to be with my friend and colleague and spirit partner, Alan Rowe. I would like you to get to know Al in this conversation we're going to be having. Um, he's a remarkable guy. We have been friends for 40 years, both professionally, obviously, and now in this ever deeper way that we have connected. So, Al, I am delighted to be talking with you here in this context. Um, please tell us a little bit about you and about the incredible inner work that you've been doing. I know, well, for a lifetime, but especially these last couple of decades.
Sure. Well, thanks, Bill. It's uh, it's a beautiful opportunity to engage in a conversation through this medium. Um, I don't do it all that often, but thanks for connecting.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, we go back several decades. Um, Very quickly, I'll just say I served in an educational setting. 5 years as a teacher and 45 years as an administrator at all levels, including the college level. Uh, and that whole experience, 50 years, and that was like, and I think I've been retired like for 6 years. So I've been in this joyous journey for a long, long time, and a lot of things as anyone's life is you experience a lot that a lot of survival stuff, a lot of ups and downs of emotional things, but it defines the life. And I was grounded kind of in a traditional way, trying to do my best for those I was serving. And when I retired and just kind of got into a little more of a look back at it kind of perspective, uh, probably the biggest awareness that I had, it was, you know what? That was amazing. 50 years and came to conclude is, and it was so vivid. Uh, I experienced who I became and was becoming because of everybody in my surround. And I mean, the students shaped me, the faculty and staff shaped me, the parents, the community itself did. And I was so, working so hard trying to do the right thing and the ups and downs of it all, but it really defined my perspective. And and so there were junctures, you might say, along the way that really unfolded for me. And the one is I know that anything I do, I just kind of put it out there from the heart, and I just give it my best shot. And and I became just enamored with observing everybody doing all the great things that they do every single day that just touched me. And so it would, classic example, I would say almost every single night, I would just kind of review in my mind what I did that day and how many people I interacted with. And it just became a ritual. I could see their faces. I could remember phrases of what they said and did, and their verbals and nonverbals and the ups and downs of it all. And that shaping process in those days and moments and reflections and looking back determined who I am right now and still. And so, what's really happened over the last 6 years in retirement, in the times that we live in, um, deeply situated in me is I see the whole thing as one large community, not just the community that I reside in, that is a special place here in Iowa, uh, but just the world itself and the beauty that everything in it represents to me. And so you could say for the context that you and I've gotten reacquainted here is um, it's made me feel more alive than ever at my age. Uh, won't be long and I'll turn 79 years old, and I just can't even believe it. My energy is probably peaking in so many ways. I feel so alive. And the only thing that's happened now, largely, and it's every day, is I used to think about class sizes. No, my class size and the people I interact, it's infinite. It shows up all day long. And the most interesting, vibrant, loving people that really have and are shaping me in so many ways. And so to just engage in a conversation like this, I treasure it. And so fire away. Let's engage in the conversation and see where it leads us.
Well, when we met, I was very much in the transformation of education business. Okay, and that transformation was about opening up the opportunity structures for students to learn more, to be more successful, and to emerge as empowered human beings. And I emphasized that in my introduction video. Um, you clearly resonated with that. And I'll say that people don't go, no, nobody I know goes into education to get rich and famous. Okay. It is a profession of dedication, of caring, of people serving. Okay. And you responded to, from my perspective, okay, as an outstanding, heart-based, compassionate, and insightful person. All right. And I think that that whole desire to empower others was a part of our connection. Do you feel the same way, or was there more and something different?
Well, that's pretty well, that's well explained, and it does touch me right to the core because um, it's that simple and that direct. I, just feeling that care. When you just said that, I can always recall there was a day I was in an elementary school, about a third, fourth grade classroom, and we were doing a lot of interesting things there. And one third or fourth grader looked up at me and he said, with a smile on his face, he says, "I'm a self-directed learner." And it hit me right square and my whole being. And I said, "Well, tell me more." And he says, and then he went in and he described his experience and the experience of himself and his own identity in ways that just wrapped me around his finger.
Mhm.
And so when that happened, uh, and that's happened an infinite amount of times since, I just started witnessing everything in my surround with that deep human side of everything, and said, this is the best place for me to be. And I can be myself, and everybody around me can be themselves, and let's just see what we can accomplish. And so there was a there was a lot of from a third or fourth grader, he spoke some truth that basically shaped my life. And then many came after that. I can recall another one doing interviews with our colleague Trace down at Iowa Big, and we were talking about the projects that students work on. And I said, "So, tell me about the projects and the one that you've been working on." He said, "Well, you know what? I did this project and it was really cool. But I came to the conclusion," the kid said, he said, "I was the project of myself. It changed me." And I thought, here we go again. So this expansion, this abundance, that's inherent in all of us is so poignant that I witness it every day. Just before I sat down here and turned on the computer, this steady little friend of mine in the gym, shooting baskets, and he's become a friend. I don't even know his name, but we find a lot of joy each and every day when you can kind of see life in its purity and see how how truth is truly a lived experience. And so those things back clear back then and still today, and even more so. I don't think I've had more fun in the last. I had a guy the other last week. He says, "Al, what the heck's happened to you? Man, you've really changed since." Well, I said, "Well, I'm retired, but I'm not retired from anything. I'm rewired to do any number of things, and so that's why this spiritual partnership kind of thing. But oh heck, I'm more than willing to share whatever could help someone else in their discovery because we all have it. It's in all of us. It's in all of us,
Well, it's
and
in all of us. It's in all of us. And I mean, what you just said about that third grader and self-directed learner, that's what the fundamental essence, I think, of all people is. The essence of being a self-directed learner. It's that we live in a society and in a world that has conditioned us to become a dependent learner on what gives us credentials, what gives us status, what gets us the right job, what keeps us, in the eyes of others in the approval sector, etc. And what I had explained in my introductory presentation is that it's seizing those inner potentials and the uniqueness of the inner potentials in each individual that moves us forward, and that's what we're here to sort of inspire and elevate, etc., in people who right now I think are just getting beat up in terms of the way life is coming at them.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Uh, so go through all those different things of schools, transformation, and the like. I came to the conclusion that there's only one form of transformation, and that is when you transform yourself and you're aware of it. And so
Well,
self rising above itself became kind of the poignancy of it all. Um, and so, thus, um, I might say that over when I started teaching in 1968, boy, it was special. Uh, by golly, the learning materials that we had for simulations and all kinds of things, because we were in the race to the Sputnik race,
yep.
to be all that, and boy, the learning materials were coming from the federal government, and it was just so exciting, and I really got turned on to that, and and then I saw it kind of go through a whole bunch of ups and downs, and because ultimately, I think there was a compulsion just to basically build a system that selects and sorts people out and then awards them credentials and grades. And so I think when I was kind of in the middle of a lot of that consternation, perhaps is when we met, because what has occurred to me is we are so label oriented. And one of the main labelers in all of us, we've all been selected and sorted and graded. And so we get this little stamp on us that that we are X, Y, and Z, and we get conditioned and programmed that way to live that way. So what took me kind of to do a shift to where I am right now, and along the way, is I saw grades, that old definition of I think his name is Paul Dressel or something like that. A grade is an inadequate report by a biased and variable judge of the extent to which a student has mastered an ill-defined amount of material. And I thought, wow, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So where are these people coming from and what's going on? And then, Bill, gradually over time, something very subtle happened. I saw education not being just about grading. You've heard me say this before, I know, is I pulled the A out of education and I pulled it out for awareness, to stand for awareness. And so I went from education to eduction,
Mm.
drawing out those other richer parts of oneself and the communities that we reside in. And I shifted my emphasis from grades to grace. I took the D out and put in the C, and it's when that CE, that conscious evolution, that's what's taken place for me over the 50, 60 years I've been involved with all this. And so that is kind of, you might say, truth that has set me free to live and be um, in the state of my own soul of what things are, and it's so beautiful. And the beauty of it is, I see it everywhere. It is already there, and so as we support one another in coaching, mentoring, self care, whatever it is, uh, it really comes down to the notion of this shift of aliveness, this shift of spirit. And I would have to say that, spirituality in itself is not teachable. Uh, it's it's a felt sense of who you are in the present moment. And whatever one can see in that present moment, it looks a lot more like grace to me. And that's where things radiate in moments, just around my heart, my breath, and what I see, what I hear, what people say about themselves, and how you just kind of feel like, you know what, the source and the power of everything, it's not just information. It's not just the curriculum. It's not just the stuff that go along with organizing a school. It's really the human factor inside the heart and soul of the individuals who make up the space and how they interact with one another. So what has occurred to me and many others, I'm certainly just I'm a practitioner of a community. I just see that the catalyst in grace is basically the felt sense of presence and being in the now, aware of what is right before us. And so as you and I interact, all I can sense is is a vibrational state under which uh, clarity and excitement and joy occupy my days. And frankly, it is so fun. And it's just it's really great. And so I get the privilege I get, because I've stayed in this part of Iowa. Uh, I've been able to observe how people start out in school and then they become lawyers, surgeons, political officials. Uh, one of them owns half the town. I mean, it just goes on and on of what they do and their how they live their lives. And so I get that joy and I get that sense of what community really is and what the common good is in a community and how it can be, how it stirs kind of a rising up of a little more grace and a little less separation. And I think, when they say the truth will set you free, what sets you free is not the words, but the experiences, the felt self, the felt sense of the truth, and that felt sense is a physical presence with energy and all the stuff on neuroscience and quantum theory and all that plays in. But you know what? Um, there are basic rituals that I've become, I live with, and I live with them all day long with other people, and it's a great life. And and I, one of our grandson, he said to me, he said, "Grandpa, you know, schools really don't concentrate on your superpowers." I mean, well, he said, well, then he went on and he explained it all to me. And I said, well, you know what? Your superpowers are so light and beautiful. Just keep being every single one of them. And you know what? That's, I don't need to teach anybody anything. I don't need to shape anybody. It's just being in the presence of those moments. And that's what tons of the people that I was fortunate enough to work with, that's the way they lived. And a little bit, a drip or a drop, or somebody shoulder tapping me and say, Al, you might want to rethink this one. Got it. You know what? You became what was in your surround. And so after that, I just would basically say, I'm kind of living untethered. I could just kind of just be. And that's why this conversation or just whatever is unfolding with this particular group intrigues me because in the stillness and silence of it all, there's a lot of harmony and there's also a lot of noise, as we all know. And so I find great joy now just interacting with people. And let's do a, when the trouble hits here, and in the moment we're doing this taping today, I'm thinking about all those places in LA and around with all the things going on and things just everywhere. How the human condition um, is a catalyst for something that is more more than what we've ever felt before as a community. So that's that's kind of a more the feeling side of it. And I would just say that the only thing that makes sense to me is not the words, it's the experience itself. And whatever is sitting in front of me is kind of you just kind of get inner sparks of what's there. And it's quite liberating, it's quite empowering, and and your desire to learn and grow just expands by nature. It just takes off. You get interested in all kinds of topics. Uh, so it's great to be here. What's the next? Maybe that was a little bird
Well,
walk,
well,
but
yeah, the you mentioned the fires in Los Angeles. That has put, I'm going to say, hundreds of thousands of people, one way or another, into a mode of survival. Okay, those people are have lost what has been their foundational base, okay, for functioning. That is their home, okay? And with their home, I'm sure in many cases has come their livelihood, et cetera, et cetera. They're back to ground zero. Now, I remember you put me on to Joel Barker way back in the ancient days.
obviously,
This futurist who really had some incredible insights, and he put them in videotapes that many of us watched. And he stated in the course of one of those something I've never forgotten and repeat again and again and again. And that is when your paradigm shifts, everybody goes back to zero. Well, those people have gone back to zero. And many of the people, I think, viewing our conversation here feel that they don't even know where zero is out there in our chaotic world. But zero is the place to start creating. It's the zero point of creation itself. When you're back to zero, you get to choose, okay, what you want to create in your life. And you get to face the reality, which I have done a few times in my career, of the blanket has been pulled out from under you, or the rug, okay? You are out there in literally outer space. I have the sun shining and glaring here in my face, forgive me. And it's been the opportunity to truly choose who you are, where you want to go with yourself, with the skills, talents, capacities, etc., that you have cultivated. And the point that I was making earlier in my work, enormous amount of hidden potential lies within us.
Mhm.
And the being willing to to go in and let things out that haven't been there, okay, that aren't part of the approved script of life, okay, the things you've always really wanted to do, the things you've always really wanted to experience. Zero is the place that gives you permission to do that.
So true. In fact, when you say, I recall that, and when the paradigm shifts, everything goes back to zero.
He said everyone goes back, yeah, everyone goes back to zero. When a societal, basically, paradigm shifts. Yeah.
And so, just taking from what you just said, one of the communities that has greatly impacted me over the last five years, I would say, is a world community. World community uh, is catalyzed by a fellow by the name of Panache Desai. And that community, it's a worldwide community. And we start with the premise of right now of everything is relational and love is actionable. So when everything shifts to come back to zero, everything is relational and we can create anew with one another and make love actionable in and of itself. Others would say that we're engaging um, in a world that where love itself is going under a revolution, where we're seeing this straight between our eyes and going, um, there's some truth here that we need to embrace and take a closer uh, run it through our daily presence and see what's there. And so I think that's really that's education and beyond. It's how do we draw that out of our communities? And so right now, we went through a what they call a derecho here in Iowa a few years ago. It was 144 miles an hour wind, wiped out lots of things. Our home had tremendous damage, nothing like fires had done. But you come in to see uh, how people rise up and how they in their own natural harmony with one another reach out to help one another. And I think that we're in that shift right now where, well, just this morning, when someone mentioned that people are considering now where they live um, uh, based upon their nervous systems, their vibrational systems, to where, wait a minute, if nature is if the nature around us is having this effect on us, what is our own human nature that allows us to evolve and thrive. And I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of infinite potential in the energy that we all have. And I think um, as you get a little further in life and health and all the different things that come our way, I tell you what, I, I learned as a child uh, for lots of, that's a whole other story. But I would just say that I am basically just energy. And whatever that vibrational energy is comes through my heart and it shows up and it connects with other people in their energy to me and them to one another, and we all get into this, and you know what? The best is yet to be, and I'm convinced of that, and so I've had the privilege of just kind of taken the science and the spirituality and ancestral kinds of things and just work with it all and put it together for me and what works. And so I experience life pretty simply, and it always starts out with I experience it by by from our world community of Panache, and that is the is the statement: resting in the awareness of your breath transforms your life into a living meditation. A consciousness. No, I did a lot of work with American Lung Association nationally and the like for 20, 25 years. The power of the breath. When you can't breathe, nothing else matters was our tagline. And then when you got in a little bit further, it was like, it's not the breath you take, it's how you breathe. Oh, so when I breathe and I attach love, joy, peace, harmony, presence to that, well, then I can just basically say that, you know what? That last breath, that final moment, as I had with my brother a few years ago, the beginning and end of that last breath he had a smile on his face with his dog laying right at his side. And you know what? We get that chance every single day with our breath. And so breath work is fitness, interacting with people, enjoying my exploration right now, Bill, is a nonprofit that I've formed, and basically, Panache gave me the idea. It was, what is it like? What does it feel like to be a vibrational philanthropist? And in essence, when I start, you can AI that one and say, what does a vibrational philanthropist look like, sound like, feel like? And what is it that they may do to live in the world? And so I've kind of gotten in my own journey here. In the school business, it was always about you had to have the right answer to get the right points to get out of the class to get the credit and all this. Well, heck, my life is all about my best question right now. I can put it in there, and then I can watch my own, as the author, my own questions get authentically grow right out of myself. I'm that self directed question constructor who can evolve with. So I can ask questions like that. Just do it in an AI, but recognize that the presence in any moment is what I'm breathing, what questions on my mind, live in curiosity, awe, and wonder. And you know what? Just have a good day. So, to me, this spirituality pathway, to me, is just an opportunity for people to step into presence and have that felt sense, and with other folks who can share those inner sparks of radiance, if you will, in energetic ways, and just experience the kind of um, human side of things at a depth that really lights things up. And so um, I enjoy the conversation that we're engaged with, and look forward to future ones.
Well, I think our audience is going to want to engage with you very meaningfully in terms of this experience you've had with this remarkable person, Panache, whom you've described to me. I think they're going to want to find out more about him, and how they might even get involved in this world community that he embodies and that he has created. And I think they're going to want to find out more from you about the inner being of Alan Rowe and how it came to be. I happen to know the secret of Al Rowe having been an all-state halfback football player back in high school. You don't become that kind of force of nature, all right, and just automatically transform into the kind of person you are now. Okay. There are some real steps there between that kind of purposeful, ego driven activity, which any good athlete or any good achiever of anything is involved in, and the kind of, I'm going to say, gentleness and acceptance of different aspects of oneself that radiate from you now. Okay. Um, and it hasn't been because you were an educator for 50 years, because there are educators who've been there for 50 years who clearly have not gone through the transformational process you've gone through.
Yeah, my transformational process, now that you brought up the athletic side as a young boy, one of these days I'll tell you the whole story, but I would just say my circumstances started out where I had a lot of anger. And because of that anger, that was the only place that I could really cut loose. And so you talk about a transformation going from anger into to peaceful and graceful presence. It's a big gap. And so when I think about contributions along the way from all the different people, uh, it was a community effort. And I'm as fallible as anybody. But once you discover that basically human connection is the heart of everything, and everything is relational, and um, and love itself is actionable in any moment. And so I come for the human connection, not the words, not a presentation, but just an interaction with one another as human beings. And so it's very clear to me now, and boy, the educators and healthcare professionals and just people, your neighbors, everybody that is just trying to be the best they can be is we all look for living wide open, and it's really occurred to me more and more clearly as much as time as I spent with my days at UCLA with Madeline Hunter and all the things that Madeline did to treat me as a human being, a young principal who was finding his wings, and how she kindly, with loving grace, just brought me along, and the power that had, and now the understanding that, what, you can still have all that knowledge of techniques and modalities methodology. But you know what? There's tremendous growth when you, in fact, I would say, when you can escape from teaching and help people grow enormously by just tapping into their unlimited potential. And that is what occurs literally all day long. And that's the exchange that each day brings. And so, yeah, I look forward to future conversations, Bill. This is uncharted territory, but you know what? I like the adventure.
Well, I think
So
what you have exemplified here, if I may, is three things that I mentioned in my opening presentation, which came from the work of Neil Donald Walsh and the way
mhm.
in his conversations with God summarizes the essence of what makes things really work in life for people. Okay. Number one, we are all one. Well, you're talking about human connection. Now, when we can bring ourselves to realize that we're not in the separation paradigm of you're Al and I'm Bill and we're different, etc., but we are fundamentally united as energy beings, spiritual beings in a field, okay, of spiritual energy, our universe, okay, then we are all one. We are all a part of the human community. And it seems to me you've embodied that incredibly strongly, okay, in the way you've lived your life and played out your career, okay, which is reaching out and recognizing and touching, okay, that humanity in other people, however it may manifest. Okay. The second thing he says is there's enough, which means we have enough resources, okay, that we can share, we can give, etc., to others collectively as a community. And I know how oriented you are to community, okay, and you live in a community where you have gained enormously from them and you have contributed enormously to them. And the third thing is there's nothing you have to do to be who you really are. And who you really are is a divine spirit, a soul, okay, who is part of that community, okay? You are an eternal soul who will have this lifetime as Al Rowe, and then you'll have another lifetime somewhere else, just like Bill Spady has and will. All right. And therefore, living in the fear of I'm not doing enough and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, you've released that. So it is it is incredible to hear you kind of relate your essence and have it for me sort of coalesce with those messages that are in Neil's books um, about our essence and how to bring that essence out.
I
Please.
remember an evening that we and a few others spent with Neil up in Oregon years
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
Wonderful evening. So, but no, thank you, and be well, and whoever ends up um, interacting with this particular piece, um, may the infinite and eternal and immortal self reside in your heart as well. Take care. See ya.
Well, okay, Al, thank you very much. Friends, listeners, viewers, etc., spread the word. We have a remarkable man here that they would like to get to know, I think, more from and benefit from enormously. So join us in other sessions that Al will be presenting himself about his own experiences, and I will be interviewing other people and presenting more myself. So join Spirit Partners, be part of this partnership, this true partnership that we have created and are going to sustain. So thank you very much.